Hello, Internet. Welcome to episode 158 of the Assorted Calibers podcast, the Second Amendment podcast. There's a little bit for everyone. I'm Weer'd, and with me, as always, is the greatest hostess on the planet. She still is. It doesn't change. Nothing's different. I mean, come on. You guys are all here for her, not me. Erin Collette.
Come on, we've already established that I'm Robin Quivers to your Howard Stern. I'm pretty sure they come to listen to you.
Well, we'll see. We can ask them to leave comments in the Facebook group, and they won't.
Of course they won't.
How are you doing, Aaron?
But special shout out to... Is it Matt Rogers? Because I'm horrible with names, but it's Mr. Rogers, from Rogue Aviation, who frequently sends me compliments and comments and is genuinely a fan. And so thank you for all the kind words. I appreciate that. How am I doing? Getting better. Yesterday, the past 24 hours have been really horrible. Because, short version, yesterday, two people that I thought were friends took a massive steaming dump on me and completely insulted and disrespected me, my craft, and also screwed over two other people who I thought were their friends. So that kind of wrecked me for a bit because, it was unexpected, it was a betrayal, and I got all this anger and I can't do anything about it. So... I've been angry a lot. I've been taking a nap. I thought I was gonna be just miserable coming into the show, and then you work your little magic of, oh hey, what's that you're listening to? And you get me all enthusiastic and geeking out about something that I like, and it raises my spirits. So that's your superpower. It is,
and hopefully it translates into podcasts. Because we're here to amuse you.
So how are you doing, Weer'd?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, it's been
of course you are. You're a Pollyanna. Everything's always good and great and optimistic and things like that.
Not always, but it's one of those I get like one of those nice little sweet and salty. We're putting siding on our house because our house looks like a shack right now. The paint is peeling off of it and it looks dreadful. And some of the shingles are like all rotty and gross and all that. And we're putting siding on and it's a huge thing. So there's been a man here replacing the windows that are old and crappy. And the team showed up to start putting new blown-in insulation into the walls before we end up putting the siding on over it. Get everything all nice and done before you seal everything up. And so that means that like my office is all torn apart, so they can get to the windows and they can get to the sills and all this stuff and all that. And then they showed up, and then it just started pouring rain, and we can't do anything in this, so we're gonna take off. So on one hand, oh God, it's going to take more days for them to get done with this intrusion of strangers tromping around in my office. And then at the same time, they went away. Oh, I was expecting to be working around people and helping out strangers to do things all day. Instead, I got time. So I made bagels. So yeah, that's my day.
Knowing you made them from scratch, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Because you're a baker man.
Yep. And I am officially, I've made enough bagels now that they're still not quite ready for prime time, but also they are no longer a pain in the rear to make. It's no longer a chore. It is now something that I can just do.
Just do it.
Just do it. And it's they're cheap. They're still at least cheaper and better than just buying the stuff at the grocery store.
Mm-hmm. So, hey, you know what you can buy at the grocery store? At least you can last time I checked. You can buy magazines. You can even, and I guess this depends upon the state where you live, buy gun magazines. And there's one gun magazine in particular that has kicked up a bit of a kerfuffle, and that would be Recoil magazine. And so this is going to surprise a lot of people. I don't really have a lot to say about this. I'll set it up, but I don't have a real big commentary on it because everything worked out exactly perfectly as far as I'm concerned. So Recoil magazine for Pride Month featured a picture of Chris Cheng on it. Now, Chris Cheng, as you probably know because I've talked about him a lot, is, in addition to being an Asian American firearms enthusiast and the winner of Top Shot, I don't remember which season, but he's also a gay man. And he appeared on the cover of the Pride Month Recoil magazine wearing an American flag that was striped in the rainbow. And as predicted, people lost their minds over this, and not in a very good way. There are a lot of people who were just completely, oh my God, how dare you disrespect the flag, and other things like that. And I will wager to you that these are probably the same people who have a thin blue line American flag decal on their car. And so there was a lot of really awful things said, and I'm not going to go into all the awful things because I'm trying to keep my blood pressure stable. But Recoil magazine did everything exactly right as far as I am concerned. And they issued a response on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's good, but I don't know, weird. Do people really listen to the show to listen to me read things? I mean, I can if you want me to.
Why don't you pick like the juiciest part, if you will?
I will exactly do that because it's the part in the middle and it's in the larger font. And the best part here is when they say, if you're as strong of a defender of individual liberty as Chris Cheng, we'll put you on the cover and let you pick your own wardrobe too. Boom, mic drop. And so they essentially said, if you got a problem with it, go F off, because we're not changing. This man has done more for gun rights than you have. Shut up and go away.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Recoil magazine, well done. You did it exactly right. And okay, yeah, I'm invested in this because Chris Cheng is a gay man and he's on the board of directors for Operation Blazing Sword. So, and a personal friend. So of course I'm going to support him in this, but I would have agreed with this about anyone. Mm-hmm. It's so, yes, well done. I'm not really sure what else there is to talk about it because they handled it exactly right. And that's my take on it. So, Weer'd, what do you have to say for the next 20 minutes?
I mean, I don't have a ton to say on it. I just saw this, and this is directly in our wheelhouse because this is like such the mission statement of ACP of an event that I had to talk about it just because. Yeah, I mean, first up, let us not belittle. Recoil magazine is like the hot chick at the party for gun magazines. Like, you've got all your guns and ammo and all the NRA publications and all that, and they're fine. I'm not dissing them. I'm not. Okay, maybe I'll diss Shotgun News. That's kind of like reading like a punk zine from back in the 90s sort of publication. But Recoil's kind of the hot new kid that's really taking a fresh look at the gun magazine thing. It's the editor-in-chief. I don't know what his specific title is another Top Shot person, and I'm sure he and Chris know each other well, as Ian Harris. He was, I think, the Top Shot season 1 winner. And yeah, he's really put on a great magazine for essentially the next generation of shooters. It's not your father's gun mag. This is not Guns and Ammo. This is not Shotgun News. This is not the American Rifleman. And it's a really good publication for getting people excited about guns. It's a good and fun magazine just to sit down and read. And on top of that, you've got Chris Cheng. He's an ardent supporter of of the Second Amendment. I mean, heck, he's the one that changed my mind on the whole like Second Amendment sanctuary thing. I was kind of on the fence on it, and then had him on ACP, and he was talking about it. And I'm like, you know what? You laid down a pretty darn good point. I think you've changed my mind on that. And then, of course, also in this day and age where people are talking about a lot of Asian American hate crimes and all that. So he's gay, he's Asian American, he's pro Second Amendment. Awesome. And so, yeah, he deserves to be up on that cover because we'll be talking about it later. There's a lot of new gun owners out there, and those gun owners do not look like the stereotypical NRA member gun owner, the gray beard, overweight boomer who likes to shoot ducks and deer. That's not where the gun owning demographic is going. And again, to have a guy in a rainbow shirt holding an AR on the cover of Recoil magazine, that is going to get a lot of people interested, especially since we talk about how some of these anti-gun bills are being floated. They might not be getting strong opposition from the new gun owning community just because a lot of these people were raised hearing that the NRA is a terrible group. And now, with all of the turmoil going on within the NRA, they're realizing that a lot of that's true. And so when the NRA issues a statement, and they're one of the prime mouthpieces for Second Amendment advocacy, when they raise their objections to something, they might assume that it's crap. And so they may not know. And so they're in this world, they want to learn about stuff, but they don't know who to trust. And Recoil magazine, both in their cover, and this is not like every group right now during Pride Month that's just putting rainbow decals on everything and saying, hey, you queer people, come buy our stuff. We're your friend. Just superficial support for the queer community. Recoil magazine is putting their money where their mouth is essentially putting Chris Cheng on the cover. And then when a whole bunch of people that have issue with that take issue with that, they say, yeah, you're wrong. The customer's always right. Yeah, not always.
Weird. I think you put a bow on it. That's great. It's we have solved this.
We've solved all the world's problems.
So, speaking of solving problems, we've got a topic from Xander that's about diagnosing a problem.
That's right. Many of us at ACP have been watching the story of Scott from Kentucky Ballistics unfurl. For those that don't know, Scott was severely injured when his Serbu RN50 exploded while firing a slap round of questionable origins. Thankfully, Scott made a miraculous recovery. Xander takes a deeper look at Mark Serbu's initial analysis of the ill-fated rifle.
Hello and welcome to Independent Thoughts with yours truly, Xander Opal. Just watched the video that Mark Serbu posted regarding the RN50 that blew up on Kentucky Ballistics Scott. Thank goodness, in the end, everybody's turning out hale and healthy. Also, really awesome how the community is coming together around something like this. So, take a look at Kentucky Ballistics YouTube channel to see how things went, and in this case the incident was actually captured on film as it happened while Scott was filming an episode of his YouTube channel. Doing this off the cuff, just to give a quick hot reaction to the Mark Serbu's video that was just posted yesterday as I record this. So, about a week ago, for most of you listening, or a couple years ago if people still find our show amusing. So, with the RN50 50 caliber rifle blowing up, the pieces that all except for the one that was lodged in Scott, still being held by the hospital, I think, just arrived at Mark Serbu, and he opened up the case and gave a immediate response as he went over the pieces. I work in electronics, not in the firearms industry, so I think David and Weer'd and others in our circle here at Assorted Calibers will be able to give firearm-specific response. In my case, I'm looking at it from the perspective of, okay, there is a failed unit returned from the field. What do we do to go over it? First step in diagnosis, visual inspection. And that's the primary focus of the video, where each piece is examined to see what dings and defects or lack of defects there are. For example, it's noted that the cap has marks that match the parts on the frame, the lower I think it is, and in one spot where obviously was shot backwards and struck metal, deforming the quarter-inch steel. There, on the lower, there is another mark higher up that does not match any of the markings on that breech cap. And this is a case of, okay, we've got something that you can see, but does not immediately correlate to what is on hand. Further analysis will undoubtedly be needed. You could definitely see also where the threads sheared off on the breech. The hardened steel cap did not deform there visibly that I could see. Let's see here. So that was the primary area of focus. Further examination in comparison to what can be seen on the video will undoubtedly help quite a bit in the analysis. So for electronics, I would do something similar, where I would, first things first, with any customer documentation or initial failure ticket in hand, go over the part, just look at it. Okay, are there any scorch marks? Are there any visibly damaged or deformed components? In my case, I do it with a microscope that may be needed for the rifle. And then after that, if there's run it through the various non-destructive testing methods. In the case of electronics, run it through testers available to us, but in such a way that it won't reprogram the part, because you do not want to change anything. Complete and total non-destructive testing and examination. Once a field return has been a field return is a unique item at that point. The pattern of damage or lack of damage has very specific evidence. You don't know what might turn out to be evidence of the cause of failure, and so you do everything possible to make sure you don't unintentionally wipe something out, because you don't want this happening again, whether it is somebody's car just suddenly dying on the side of the road, or a firearm turning into a bomb right in front of somebody's face. So once that checking and testing is done, I would expect somebody with, in this case, to take a mechanical approach, make measurements with calipers, etc., gauges, check and see if there's any evidence of, say, bad metal, just to, in some cases, you're ruling out possible defects, such as metal crystallization. And speaking of ruling things out, if the actual cause of failure is not immediately evident, you can take a known good item and alter it to try to recreate the incident or effects. Obviously, with a firearm, you would be doing this behind a blast shield, running a cord to something in a bench rest. In electronics, I would take a circuit board that has passed all the tests, confirmed to be good, and introduce a short in a given place, or removing a lead from an integrated circuit, something that looks like a computer chip to the layman, and see if the magic smoke goes away when it gets powered up. Obviously, never lean over a piece of electronics when you're powering it up for the first time, especially if you've introduced a fault. I bounced capacitors off the ceiling in an electronics lab when I was in college. So, for a firearm like this, especially with this specific incident, a major thing to focus on and either confirm or rule out, I think, would be the ammunition. As noted in Mark Serbu's video, it's not cut and dried exactly, although there are items of, wait a minute, this isn't quite right. One thing that can be done is, as he notes, is to get an expert on that specific item to come in and take a look at it, possibly get other examples of verified or valid versions of that. The other direction, of course, is to take a good RN50 from stock and turn a cartridge, a pseudo slap round, as it were, and turn that into what is effectively a bomb, load it into the rifle, and then again taking all safety precautions and making use of technology where you place various cameras, both standard and high speed, around it to observe the effects. Will they get, say, a fireball like Scott had noted in post with the previous rounds leading up to the disastrous firing? Will the gun come apart in the same way? This is a method that Mythbusters would use as well in their show, where if they could not create a effect going from one direction, they, as in the using what was reported by hearsay or a news article or such, they would then go at it the other way where, okay, they've got these conditions, how do we get this end result? What does it take to get the end result? Anyway, I hope that you all found this informative from my very much layman's perspective, from someone who is a diagnostic technician and takes a diagnostic approach to events like this. Have fun, be safe, make sure your gear is properly maintained and you're using the correct and known good ammunition, and have fun out there. We got the 4th of July coming up in the U.S., and I hope that a lot of folks have fun at the range with everybody coming home with the same number of bits and pieces and holes that they went to the range with. Have a good one.
So for people who didn't know, and I didn't know because I'm not up on all these gun terms, as most people, I freely admit I'm an idiot. A slap round, that stands for Saboed Light Armor Penetrator. And so it's ammunition that is designed to penetrate armor. So you've got a smaller bullet, and between it and the cartridge is the sabot. And Weer'd, you're a gun guy, you can explain it in far more detail, but for people who want the idiot's view, the sabot is sort of like a shot cup that holds the bullet, and it sits between the bullet and the cartridge, and that allows it to engage with the rifling, and then once it's out, the sabot falls away.
or at least the discarding sabot falls away. I believe these slaps are designed with discarding sabots, but some of the original ones might not have discarded, but that's ballistically inferior. But yeah, it essentially allows for a smaller than bore projectile to not come out tumbling.
Mm-hmm. And so, you've got a smaller projectile, but you've got the full powder charge behind it. F equals MA. There's velocity in there. The idea is, you've got a smaller thing that's traveling faster. It's going to hit harder.
Mm-hmm. Plus, it's like a needle point hardened tool steel bullet. So, or it might even be something else. But yeah, it is a hardened projectile. So yeah, I'm sure that sucker goes through a lot of stuff like butter. And actually, the few that Scott did, he was shooting at a fire hydrant, and the ones that he did get to go through. But again, these rounds were all sorts of crazy. I don't know if they've quite figured out the story behind it. If these were counterfeits, if these were reloaded, what was the story behind these rounds? But yeah, Scott is lucky to be alive, and it looks like he's doing pretty good now.
Yeah. So based upon just watching the various videos involved, it sounds like it was a super hot shot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether that was just a failure of QA or what, but oh gosh, what was it that the cap that dislodged was rated for 55,000 Humpty Dumps, whatever the term is, and for it to have failed like that and stripped the threads that held it in place, it would have been something like at least 80,000 Humpty Dumps. And so, it's not just a minor thing. Something went catastrophically wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So weird, because I can just hear the gunnies chewing through the straps. What is the proper term? It's not a Humpty Dump. It's a what?
It was PSI, or is the metric you're looking for.
Okay,
but I don't remember the specific numbers for what the RN50 was rated for, and what Mark Serbu suggested that might be the problem. And of course, also that was with him looking at the video and pictures of it, and now he has it in Florida, and so now he's going to be fully tearing it down, as Xander was talking about, to figure out what went wrong and what caused that gun to go. But yeah,
I've seen the videos, and when you have an end cap propelled backwards such that it shears off pieces of metal as if it were a plane shaving off strips of wood, oh boy. I mean, yeah, he's lucky to be alive. There's no doubt about that. But he's lucky to be alive multiple times, because not only did one of the shaved off pieces of metal hit him and damage his jugular vein. I don't think they severed it.
No, just lacerated it.
Lacerated it. But he was also hit in the face by the same end cap that sheared off the metal. It hit him right in the face. And he was wearing protective glasses, thank goodness, because otherwise it would have been so much worse. And even with those protective glasses, his orbital bone was broken in 3 places, and he went temporarily blind. And his vision is coming back, so he should make a full recovery.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's not far off to imagine that thing just going into his head. Shattering the glasses, entering the eye socket. So he's lucky at least twice, maybe 3 times.
The third time is in the Mark Serbu video. You've got the essentially little ears that are on the lower receiver, and those are designed to make sure that the breech cap is threaded all the way in, so that gun is nice and tight, so you don't end up blowing the breech cap off like that. What happened is never supposed to happen, and honestly speaking, it's amazing that it did, because that gun does appear to be a very, very robust design.
Right. Yeah, it was just, the other ear missed him, and like it knocked his hat off, whizzed past his head, knocked his hat off, and tore a hole in it. And who knows, that could have gotten him and somewhere else in the head.
And then the other one was recovered inside his chest. So it literally went in and collapsed his lung, and very easily could have hit his heart or or damage some arteries in there. But essentially, he got a center of mass shot from a very, very big bullet that was made at a Serbu frame. So
Yeah.
I mean, they ended up having to do a full emergency thoracotomy. He got the full open heart surgery. They popped open his rib cage so they could repair all the damage. So yeah,
He's got a gnarly looking scar. Wow.
oh yeah, like it's one of those, like, I keep waiting every time he puts an update video, because you can see the scar poking out, because essentially it goes like from his neck all the way down, because essentially the laceration in his neck, they more or less completed it when opening up his chest. And I still want to see him see him pop the shirt off just to see exactly how gnarly that looks, because I've seen lots of people who've had open heart surgery, but I kind of wonder if the emergency incisions are a little bit rougher than the fully planned out ones.
But yeah, the one thing's for sure, this man is not going to be buying his own drinks for quite a while.
No. No, and also those put a thumb in it t-shirts, they are selling like off the shelf. It's so funny. Every time Matt Carricker of Demolition Ranch owns the factory that makes those t-shirts, and he's just talking about how many shirts are going through it. He's started off videos just showing the pallets of the OD green shirts that he prints those on, showing up and going, yep, these are all going to have that printed on them. And yep, those who have ordered those, it'll be a while.
So Demolition Ranch literally owns a t-shirt production factory?
Yep, he started printing t-shirts for his channel and realized that, hey, you know what? I'm paying somebody else to print me my t-shirts. What do I have to do to print my own t-shirts?
He's clearly got the land for it, so yeah. I didn't know that. Cool.
Oh, I mean, he bought other land for that. He has a massive warehouse now and he's been through a couple iterations. He is quite the entrepreneur.
But yeah, this is sort of the perfect storm for gun owners, because okay, it's a catchy phrase. It's highly relevant to what we do. It has a happy ending. Plus, well, I don't know this, but I would imagine at least some of the proceeds are going to go to him, because he's got one heck of a hospital bill.
Yeah, that's the whole purpose of that shirt.
Yeah, exactly. So we get to help someone, and it's cool, and it's funny, and we get to laugh about it because it had a happy ending. It really doesn't get any better than this. So yeah, put a thumb in it.
I'm going to throw that into the... Xander didn't give me any show notes to do, and I keep giving him show notes.
Well, hell yeah, you got to add that link, because I got to get that shirt.
So I alluded to a little bit earlier about all of these new gun owners that have entered the fold. And I think David has a little bit to talk about that.
Where has all the ammo gone? Shot by newbies, everyone. David's here to explain more.
Hi, and welcome to Gun Lovers and Other Strangers. In this segment, I'd like to talk about something that's been on everyone's radar for over a year, by which I mean the ammo shortage. Specifically, I'd like to talk about the causes as relayed to me by people in the industry. I do not claim this information is 100% accurate, but it's what I've been told by people I trust. First, we have to roll back the clock to March of 2020, when we first heard the phrase, 15 days to flatten the curve. At that time, many businesses shut down for 2 weeks. Whether this was due to state or local government mandates or a corporate decision is irrelevant. A 2-week production void started moving through the supply chain. Even when production started again, it wasn't immediate. With large-scale ammunition plants, it's not as simple as flipping a switch and starting the machines. The equipment has to be checked and probably recalibrated. On top of that were staffing reductions to increase space between employees on the production, QC, and packaging lines. All these issues slowed things down to some degree or another as they settled out. But that's still not all. The same void applied to materials suppliers as well. The manufacturers of brass stock used to make cartridge cases and bullet jackets had also shut down, as did the powder mills. This caused further production issues. I've also been told the chemicals for making primers, most of which come from outside the US, have been more difficult to source as well. The bullet point here is that the supply chain was severely screwed up by actions taken in response to the pandemic. At the current time, from what I've been told, ammunition manufacturers are running shifts around the clock 6.5 days a week. There has to be some downtime for the equipment for preventative maintenance after all. Add to all this the concept of just-in-time warehousing used by most industries starting in the 1980s. This is a concept where a minimum amount of stock is kept on site, but a series of orders are spaced out based on expected demand. This works fine as long as there aren't any hiccups. Boy howdy were there some hiccups this past year. This confluence of manufacturing issues also came together with one of the largest, if not the largest, periods of firearms and ammunition demand in retail history. Everyone had bought up all the toilet paper and now decided they needed something to defend Fort Sharman. To put this in some perspective, according to the FBI, in 2020, the National Instant Check System recorded nearly 40 million checks. This was over 10 million more checks than had been done in 2019. As of the end of May 2021, there have been nearly as many checks run as in all of 2012, which had been the record year up to that point. Some additional details regarding NICS. A single check can be for more than one firearm. Several states either have their own system, handgun carry licensees may not be required to run checks, or both. On the other side of that, some states run their permit holders through NICS on a regular basis, which can drive the numbers up. The National Shooting Sports Foundation, which is the trade association for the firearms industry, calculates an adjusted number based on these considerations. From their analysis, they estimate that 40% of all checks in 2020 were for first-time gun buyers. If each new gun owner only bought 2 boxes of ammunition with their purchase, even if that was all they bought in 2020, that's still a tremendous amount of ammunition. Then there's the traditional modern American response to any kind of shortage. Buy more. This probably started with the first time someone went into their local gun store and saw only a few boxes of their preferred caliber on the shelf. Of course, they bought them all, which meant the next customer got nothing. The next time that customer saw a few boxes, they bought them all. And so on in a cascade. Then there are what many call the profiteers and gougers. At first, many retailers tried not to raise their prices even as demand ramped up and supply became limited. This caused certain people to see an opportunity and they bought low and sold high. This really isn't profiteering, it's an aspect of commerce. The same applies generally to gouging claims. For someone who has plenty of ammo at home, buying a few more boxes at the quote-unquote normal price when things look uncertain just makes sense. Even if that leaves nothing for the new gun owner who just has the box or two they bought with their gun. As prices rise, the casual purchaser who has plenty will opt out of buying, leaving more for those who don't. Ammunition you can find, even at twice the previous price, is still better than ammo you can't find at any price. As the supply returns to normal, prices will settle, though probably not to their previous lows. For those still looking, a good online resource for finding ammunition is ammoseek.com. They don't sell ammo, but they maintain a list of who has what in stock at what price point. Check them out. Also, speaking for gun shop workers everywhere, there's no secret stockpile of ammunition we keep in the back for special customers. Just what we reserve for new purchases, classes, and range use. Please stop asking. So to summarize, a whole bunch of elements converged at the same time to make ammunition difficult to find and expensive. If we keep our heads and only buy what we truly need, things will improve faster. An indicator of this is at the store where I work. We've recently started getting in enough 9mm that we can put it out on the retail shelves with no purchase limits. Yes, the prices are higher than we'd like, but it is available. So that's a sign of nature healing.
What I am about to do cannot be undone. Baby shark dude.
You make everything awful.
Just yes.
I swear to God, holy hell.
I'm going to punch you right in the mouth, David.
That about wraps up this segment. If you have any questions for me or suggestions for future segments or a comment on a past segment, please post them on the Assorted Calibers Podcast Facebook page and Aaron or Weer'd will make sure I get them. I'm also a contributor on the Blue Collar Prepping blog, which can be found at bluecollarprepping.blogspot.com. That's all for now. Thanks for listening. I'm David, and this is Gun Lovers and Other Strangers.
I gotta say, David has a gift for minding the blooper reels. And again, if you aren't a patron of the show, that's some of the madness that gets cut for the show on a regular basis. And I agree with David, especially the point of the of all those new shooters just bought like 2 boxes of ammo, which they didn't. Yeah, the COVID shutdown did put a crimp in the ammo supply. There was some limitations. The whole bit on like us getting lead from China and us shutting down all the cargo from China for a while, that definitely put a crimp in everything. But the biggest factor is just the number of people who have never owned ammo before, and now they need to own ammo. And of course, also, you go into gun shops, they're still low. Steve's got his Merchant of Boom a gun shop set up, and he can't get guns for it. So yeah, I think it is all these new shooters that are the big reason why ammo is so scarce and guns are so scarce.
I'm reminded of the similarities to the 2013 ammo shortage. I mean, we just had the terrible tragedy at Sandy Hook, and people were buying ammo like crazy, and there was such a demand for it that not only could the ammunition companies not keep up, but they had to shut down other lines in order to keep up with the demand. So I believe one of the lines they shut down was 22 long rifle, because people were just clamoring for the 223 and 5.56. And of course, companies being companies, they are going to make what's more profitable. But because of that, those lines had lain fallow for so long that in order to get them up and running, you have to do calibration. You may need to do maintenance on the machines. You will need to do test runs to make sure that things are being done properly. If you've brought in new people, they have to be trained. And it took so long for 22 long to actually come back on the market. And that's what we're looking at here. Unfortunately, you just got to be patient. And that is where prepping comes into it. Buy enough so that you can make it through the lean times. My problem, well, I've got several, one of which is I don't like dealing with people going out in public, but there's also the fact that, okay, I've got ammo, but when I go shooting, I don't have that ammo anymore, and it's expensive to replace it. So it's, I'm kind of in an Ebenezer Scrooge moment where I have it, and the value is in the having, not in the shooting. I want to go shoot, but I can't replenish, and wah.
Yeah, I'm the exact same way. My shooting has gone down to just a trickle. And I do have one quibble. You are right on what you said. Just the one technical detail was that it wasn't the 22 lines, because also 22 being rimfire, it's made in completely different facilities than the center fire stuff. But it was stuff like 380 and certain hunting calibers and all that. They were drying up because everybody was making 9mm and the 223s and stuff like that. But 22 long rifle disappeared because this was a slightly different gun run. This definitely was new shooters were showing up and getting guns, but these were new shooters that seemed more curious about shooting, because 22 guns and 22 ammo were just vanishing because these people were getting the newbie stuff. They were getting the stuff that was easy to shoot and easy to train with. And that caused a run on that, versus now, this is definitely more of people of the, no, I need a gun. Like, not, I'm curious about a gun. No, I need a gun. There are riots in the streets. I'm concerned about the police. I'm concerned about racism. I'm concerned about civil unrest. I'm concerned about the collapse of society. So no, you guys can keep the 22. But yeah, I'll take the 223 and I'll take the 9mm. So that certainly is a different flavor than the previous gun rushes. One thing I love about the Assorted Calibers podcast is the interesting people I get to sit down with. Of course, we got the regular staff who are all amazing and interesting people, but then we have the guests. And while I was talking with Tom Kubiniec of the Secure It Tactical, he started talking about his thoughts on college. And I was glad Tom was willing to talk more about this important issue for an ACP interview. I am very pleased again to welcome back Tom Kubiniec. He is the CEO of Securit Tactical, and we've heard stories about the Securit Tactical safes, and we've heard about his musical career, and we just got talking a little bit before we started on the fact that let's go right out. Tom, you never went to college.
No, I didn't. I went through high school and. I struggled with classroom learning, and it just wasn't for me. And I was also wanting to be a guitar player, so I knew one thing: heavy metal guitar players did not go to college. So I just didn't go, and got into music. Tendinitis ended that career. We've talked about that in the past, but the thing that I look at is, people look at me and they say, "You never went to college, and you're CEO." I mean, Securit is now one of the fastest growing companies in America. The company's doing great. I started it. I've got an incredible team of people, and we have a blast just running this company and growing. But the big underlying thing I think everybody has to look at is never stop learning. I've got friends that go to college, they graduate from college, and never learned another darn thing. And I wake up, every morning I try to find learn something new every day, and always keep changing, always keep looking for something different. And I'm not sure if college teaches you or unteaches you how to be creative. I don't have enough data on it, but it seems like, I don't know, we're creating these people that are like, I want a career, I want this, I want a job, I want to get up in the morning at 8 and know it just seems foreign to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, as someone who did 4 years of college, I've got a marine science degree from the University of Maine, and I'll say it was instrumental in my early career. It certainly hasn't done crap for me as a podcaster, but it was certainly very, very important to get into many of these science-based jobs and research-based jobs. And actually, to be fair, I do the Weer'd audio fisks on the podcast, and I am still very much writing term papers and journal articles when I'm working up on those. You can't just say that this gun control law doesn't increase public safety. You need to show the data, and so it does have its uses. But yeah. I would also say that first up, for those that still remember, geez, it's been a while. The Occupy Wall Street movement. I still think one of the fundamental causes of that is when I was going through high school. Every single guidance counselor was always saying, go to college, go to college, go to college. You're going to be so much better off if you go to college. And then when I got to college, I knew so many people that they might have gone 2 or 3 years before declaring a major. They didn't know exactly what they were doing. They just got accepted to college. And a lot of them are out there, and they're not even using it. And yet they still got the debts. You still have to pay for the degree.
Yeah.
And so if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a lawyer, if you want to be an electrical engineer, obviously those getting a degree in those is absolutely incredible. But yeah, if you want to be a guitar player, yeah, Jimi Hendrix didn't go to college. Jimi Hendrix just played the heck out of a guitar. I could totally to see that angle.
Well, it's the challenge I see now, and one of the things I think a lot of kids are they're being duped, that they're getting screwed. And it's this notion that you have to go to school. And then our government came out and said, we're going to make college affordable. So what did they do? They started the government loan program, the government guaranteed loan program. They didn't reduce college tuition. They just made money easy to get. The result of that was college tuition shot through the roof. In fact, from 2002-ish to now, college tuition is up 5 times greater than inflation rate. Mm-hmm. My brother is a dentist. He went to UB dental school. He went to dental school in the 90s, early 90s. It was in the 80s actually. I think his tuition was $16,000 a year for dental school. Dental school right now at UB, I believe, is $92,000 per year. And if you're going to go to college, and want that education, that's great. Don't go in the debt for it. Mm-hmm. Don't go in the big debt. It's not, I see parents bragging about their kids going to an Ivy League or some crazy private school, and these kids are being saddled with $110,000 to $120,000 in debt versus a kid who goes to a state school, goes to an affordable school. At the end of the day, 5 years into a career, it doesn't matter what school you went to. Your pay rate, your success rate, everything about your life now is based on what you do, not based on your college experience. And I see what we're doing to kids right now is so disingenuous to saddle these kids with this crazy debt level that they carry with them. Some of them carry this debt level with them for 10, 20 years. And it's nuts. In Syracuse right now, my office is in Syracuse, New York. They're looking for electricians, and there's a real shortage. And there's a 2-year apprenticeship, and then you start off at I think it's $115,000 a year. Think about this: the quality of life swing coming out of a 4-year school, $80,000 in debt, versus 4 years you're an electrician. The last 2 of which you were making $115,000 a year. That you do all the math on that, and that's almost a $500,000 swing by the time everything's said and done. The kid with the degree is never going to catch up to the electrician in lifetime earning capacity. And a young kid earning that kind of money, if he puts a chunk of it away into retirement, will retire as a king. I mean, he'll retire a multimillionaire.
Yeah. And also we were actually just talking about how when you're hiring for Securit, you're looking more for life experience. And I'll just tell a quick story just because I think this guy needs a shout out. I won't give his name, but I actually worked in a lab where we were doing surgery on mice. And our lead surgeon for this particular surgical procedure, I was asking about him. He actually he started off as he was a drummer, so he started off in a musical career. And I just went, man, how did you get to go from being a drummer to being a biologist? And he goes, oh, I'm not a biologist. He literally worked as a drummer, and then he had a really great, amazing career of just he would see an opportunity, and he made it a point that he would dive in and learn everything he could about that opportunity. And he also has an innate skill. Not everybody can do what he can do, but he went from being an extremely good drummer to being a professional chef to suddenly he was dumping poopy cages in an animal facility. And the person's like, oh, I need some help doing some of these surgical procedures. Cool. Show me how to do it. And showed him how to do it. He got his practice in, started doing that. And next thing you know, now he is like one of the global leaders in a certain veterinary surgical procedure. And he still doesn't exactly know how he got there.
It's, I tell people is everything that they teach you in school, all that information is available for free. They're just presenting it to you in a classroom environment and ask you to write papers about it so that you can demonstrate that you know it. But I didn't go to college. I was a musician. I'm a CEO of a very fast-growing company. I've learned a lot, and I'm not a reader. I don't. I graduated high school having read one book in 4th grade, and just never was a reader. So I do books on audio now, and every day I drive into my office, I drive home. I've got something going on where I'm learning something new. I'm trying something new, and the information is there. You choose how much you spend, but if you're spending $80,000 a year for a pedigree, some brand name education, and you don't have that cash to pay for it, I think it's just crazy. I think you're getting wrapped up in this idea that it's a bragging point. It's hey, I look up my degree is out of this school. You know what? I'm an employer. I hire people. My salaries for entry level people range from $55,000 to about $150,000 a year, depending on the position. And we don't consider college. It's not part of our application process. It was on there once, and I said, guys, why are you asking this? And they're like, well, I said, no, stop. I own the company. I didn't go to college. I don't care. Who are they? Who is this person? Because if the person has any level of intelligence, most people do, and they're a cultural fit for what we do, they fit our culture, we can teach them what they need to know. And, our company, we always refer to it, we're a band of misfits out to change the world. And that's kind of how we run it. It's a fun environment. It's a fun, creative environment. But as far as college goes, we're creating great jobs. We're growing quickly, and I don't care. I'm the owner of the company. I don't care about your college. So, and there's more people like me now there's more and more people that are becoming like me we don't care about the college degree anymore because there's so much going on. There's so much strange political crap going on in colleges. At this point, I won't consider somebody from some colleges. I look at Harvard, I look at Berkeley, some of these crazy, not only like political, but these crazy notions. Once they start blocking speech, I've got a problem with it. I'm a big, I believe in the Constitution. I believe in the freedoms, even though some of the freedoms that people have tick me off. I still respect them. But, those are degrees from those schools would work against you, applying for this company.
Yeah.
You'd be better off to be an Eagle Scout, have some time in the military. I mean, it's heck, a mom who raised 3 kids at home has more critical thinking and more problem-solving skills than somebody coming out of a prestigious 4-year school.
Well, another interesting thing to look at is I read some studies on it. Maybe I could cook something up for the show notes real quick to support my statement. I remember reading an article a long time ago, and I know that the people that I've talked to have been to like Ivy level schools. Obviously I'm in the Massachusetts, in the Boston area, so I know a bunch of people who've gone to MIT and Harvard and all that. And I point out the fact that at University of Maine, I went to school out in the woods in the middle of Maine, and every single one of my professors, every single class except for a couple of my general ed stuff. My stats tech class was taught by a TA. I had a creative writing class that was taught by a TA. Other than that, just about everything else was taught by the PhD in that field. It was the someone who had heavily studied in that field and was doing research and all of that. Versus when you go to Harvard and all that, a lot of the undergrads are not actually seeing the professor. They're seeing the TA. Right. They're seeing the prepared lectures. So also at some point you're paying more for the name and not for the actual end product.
I agree. I think you're 100% paying for the name. And why did the rates go up so high? That's why did colleges raise their tuition 800%? It's, because the government supplied free money and it just supply and demand. I think we're at a turning point because as of right now, as of 2 years ago, I think, I have to look it up to be exact, is the size of the graduating senior high school classes is now getting smaller. It had been getting bigger. There was a second wave coming, and now it's getting smaller. So now colleges, each year going forward, are looking at less applicants. And we've got some small schools, small private schools in central New York that their enrollment numbers are 1/2. My daughter was looking at Alfred University for their an art program there, and we went in. First year students get their own dorm room. I spoke with a professor, and he said we're really concerned because we're a rural small school. We're just not getting the applicants. They haven't started reducing their rates yet, but I think the concept of value and education is coming because right now it's been. Nobody cares what the rate is, what tuition is. You apply, and they say, here's your package to go to our school. We're giving you $6,000 in scholarship, and here's your loan for $26,000. And here, boom, 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 just sign here. It's all good. It's all good. It's easy to do. Well, you're signing up for a hell of a lot of debt. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to change. I know we've got a school in Buffalo just reduced their rates, dramatic, like 20%. And I think that college tuition rates, once it starts, you could see a dive to the bottom where all of a sudden the focus is on value in education, not prestige in education. And I think it needs to happen. It needs to happen quickly because, no, the government should not bail out student debt. You made a decision. You got to live with it. And that's part of life. But saddling these kids with that debt is a crime, in my opinion. And parents allowing their kids to do this. Mm-hmm. How many parents do you know that brag about the pedigree of their kids' education? It's just so shallow. It's so wrong.
Not that many because I don't put up with it.
I'm the funny guy because in I've got a lot of great friends, great parents, and great people. But I'm the only guy in the room that didn't go to college, mm-hmm. And I run a business, and so they know they can't blow smoke my way because it's not going to work. But.
Well, I mean, I think that there is a lot of people are thinking about it differently. I think part of that's because of Mike Rowe and all of his work, and his star is still rising, which is good to hear. And Thanks to some words from Tom Kubiniec of Securit. I hope you don't get off this soapbox anytime soon, because I think this is a message that needs to be told more often. Because like I said, I graduated in the late '90s from high school, and everybody of my graduating class, almost everybody went to college afterwards, and people were looked down upon for doing that. But hey, I know some of the quote unquote burnouts in my school where they started working in a service station fixing cars, and now they're pulling in good money and they don't have the debt.
No, it's a career, a life spent working with your hands. When you're a guitar player, your career is spent working with your hand. You're playing an instrument, but you are a journeyman. You are working with your hands. You're in the physical world. And I run this company. I spend the bulk of my time product develop. Our product development is a welder, a hammer, wood. We smash stuff. We make these crazy prototypes, and we send it out to a company to do CAD drawings of it. But I live in the physical world, and a career in a trade where you're outdoors, every day you're meeting different people, you're doing different things, and you're making good money. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Compare that to walking into an office, being a I don't want to talk about, financial, or being something where you're dealing with other people's money, other people's success, you're managing I don't know. To me, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer answer. I'll take the outdoor job. I'll take the job where I'm actually creating something any day of the week.
Well, that is awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, and thank you so much for talking about this. I didn't know we were going to be chatting about it when we first sat down, and I'm really glad we did. That's Tom Kubiniec of Securit Tactical.
All right, thanks.
So I graduated earlier than you did, and I got the same spiel. The whole, you have to go to college. Your life will be so much easier. And the unspoken, if you don't, then you're stupid. Either you're stupid because you chose not to go, or you're stupid because you can't get into college. And so just college was seen as the inevitable next step in education. And it was only the stupid people and the poor people who didn't go. And my college experience was disastrous, and it's not something I really like to talk about. We're just going to go with I was ill-advised and leave it at that. And it always is remarkable at how much money a skilled tradesman can make just by itself. I hear how some of these electricians are making like doctor money, and then no college tuition to have to pay off. So they're starting off in the black and making more. And yeah, God bless Mr. Rowe for what he's doing, because, well, we're always going to need ditch diggers. We're always going to need plumbers and carpenters and electricians. And there's just this snobbery involving people who work with their hands. And I'm with you. I don't think that's correct. Mm-hmm. So, just one of the things that really bothered me about college was that in high school, I was told, well, when you go to college, they will teach you how to think. And that wasn't my experience at all. My experience was, here's the stuff that you're going to need to parrot in order to pass the class. We don't want you to learn. We want you to learn these things by rote. And it was just the same basic stuff as in high school. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's a lot of crap about it. And it's not really so much that I'm talking down college in and of itself. It's that I'm talking down the notion that college is for everyone, because it's not. And you can make a perfectly good living for yourself doing something that is fulfilling and necessary without having gone. And I am very happy to see this viewpoint being promoted. And honestly, it does satisfy my own little personal prejudices. So, hooray! Other people are agreeing with me.
Yeah, as I said in that, of course, again, I got a 4-year degree. I don't regret it at all. And my college experience wasn't quite as bad as yours. But I did have my eye on the prize. It was definitely one of those. I was always the kid that was excited to go to school in the morning, and by the end towards college, I was just looking at the finish line, and I was saying, I'll never do you want to go to graduate school? No, I've done my time. I'm out. I'm out. I'm getting a job. I'm making real money. And so I was very, very glad to get the education that I had, and I wouldn't be able to have done many of the things that I have done without the education. But again, I knew tons of people that they were in their junior year and they hadn't declared a major yet. They'd just been taking general ed classes and stuff that was interesting them. And it's one of those, if you don't know what you're going to do, just get a job and figure it out, or go to a short trade school. It's just it going to college and spending that kind of money when we all know people that have a 4-year degree and have never used it a day in their life and are not making college degree money, so to speak. Certainly not the bill of goods that we were all sold by our high school guidance counselors. And so it's just one of those, just don't walk into that trap. If you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a lawyer, if you want to be a scientist, if you want to be an engineer, absolutely go get yourself a college degree. But there's a ton of other stuff out there where, you can just get yourself a certification or just go to a trade school. I mean, honestly speaking, these days, though, from what I hear, just going to a trade school can be difficult because they're full. Thanks to each and every one of our listeners, and a very special thanks to all our supporters on Patreon. To be a Patreon patron, go to patreon.com/Assorted Calibers podcast to sign up. Patrons get an early release of the podcast plus bonus content like the hilarious blooper reels, and you heard some of it on David's segment, the ACP film tracks, and the ACP mag dump.
Also, please remember to rate us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe to us on the platform of your choice, and share the show with your friends, both online and off.
You can get more from me at my blog, which is weerdworld.com. That's WEERD world.com. And hear me weekly on Handgun Radio on the Firearms Radio Network.
And you can find me in all the usual places. David has already pimped Blue Collar Prepping, and so my angsty personal nerd blog, Looking Rhythmically. One of these days I'll get back to writing good stuff for it. And of course, BlazingSword.org and BigPistols.org.
And thanks to Nate Spencer for our music.
So this is the part where Weer'd goes, here comes the magic. But you know what? The greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing people he didn't exist.